In
Louis
Rome,
Tagle and Pope
a
Leo
whisper
XIV
spread like
move
fire.
Vatican. Heaven's
Some
warning
called it
begins.
loyalty, others, rebellion. The revolt of Cardinal Tagle. A response so unexpected, it left Pope Leo XIV silent, his eyes searching, his breath caught. Hours earlier, Tagle had stood before the world declaring to her, "There's no turning back." No turning back from Pope Francis's vision of mercy, of the poor, of the forgotten. The Church could not retreat. Not now, not ever. But when those words reached Leo XIV, the faithful saw it not as comfort but as defiance. Was Tagle affirming unity, or questioning the very direction of this new papacy? Days later, May 24th, the world watched as Pope Leo XIV placed upon him the title of Cardinal of Albano. A gesture of trust, a sacred bond. Yet beneath the grandeur of the ceremony, rumors began to stir. Had Tagle's words wounded the Pope's pride? Or had they revealed a fissure, so deep, so dangerous, that even the ring placed upon Leo's hand could not conceal? And then, the anecdote. The moment that seemed so innocent. A candy, slipped to Prevost in the conclave chamber, a small act of kindness. He was nervous, sweating, the final ballot still burning in his hand. Tagle leaned in, smiling, gentle. "Take this." The candy melted on his tongue as history shifted forever. To some, it was proof of brotherhood. To others, a symbol of control. A man who comforted a future pope. Was he also the man who would one day challenge him? But not all stories glow in the light of grace. Darker shadows cling to Tagle's name. Allegations of mishandled abuse cases, of empathy that never bore fruit, of words that never became action. Critics mutter, the faithful ache, and a question rises like incense into the heavens. How can a shepherd be both beloved and accused? Gentle and yet ineffective. The contradiction stuns the faithful, tears at the seams of trust, and Pope Leo XIV cannot ignore it. The Vatican corridors tremble with whispers. The Asian Francis, they call him. A man of vision, of warmth, of prophecy. A papabile who could have been pope. Yet today, some say, he has become the pope's greatest test. For when Leo XIV looked into the eyes of Tagle, after those fateful words, "There's no turning back," the silence that followed felt less like agreement, and more like a challenge. And so the faithful wonder, is this the dawn of a hidden revolt? A holy clash not fought with armies, but with words, with silence, with destiny itself? The response of Tagle has baffled Rome. But behind those ancient walls, between the echoes of prayers and the weight of prophecy, the truth may shake the Church to its core. The air in St. Peter's Square felt heavier than usual, not because of the heat of August, but because of something unseen, something spiritual. The Vatican bells tolled, echoing across Rome, yet, beneath their sound another rhythm seemed to rise, whispers, rumors, prophecies. And at the center of it all, Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle, a man beloved by millions, yet now, a man whose words were being weighed like fire against gold. There's no turning back. Those 4 words, spoken at the press conference, had spread like wildfire. Some faithful cried out in joy, seeing in Tagle a defender of the poor, a voice for the forgotten, the continuation of Pope Francis's merciful heart. But others trembled. Was it a pledge of unity, or was it the seed of defiance? In the shadow of Pope Leo XIV's throne, those words sounded less like agreement and more like a challenge. The Church has always carried its mysteries. The bride of Christ, radiant yet scarred, holy yet wounded, holy yet, and within her walls, holy men who love Christ and others who play with power. As the world looked on, the faithful felt it. A battle was stirring. A battle not of flesh and blood, but of spirits, of principalities, of voices that claimed to speak for heaven. May 24th came, a sacred day. Pope Leo XIV, dressed in the white of Peter, placed upon Tagle the suburbicarian title of Albano, a diocese once held by the Pope himself. To the eyes of millions, it was trust, continuity, brotherhood. But in the unseen realm, it was read as something else. A seal, a binding, a test. Could the Pope bring close a man who might one day oppose him? Could he bind together mercy and truth when beneath the surface forces were preparing for a clash? Then came the story of the conclave candy. A gentle act, a smile, a gift in the hour of decision. Tagle calming Prevost, the man who would become Pope Leo XIV. To the simple heart it was brotherly love, but to the eyes of prophecy, it was a sign. For he who comforts a man at his election, could he also hold a secret claim over him? Some whispered, was this the first sign of Tagle's influence over the papacy itself? And yet, there was darkness too, a cloud that refused to vanish. Allegations, mishandled cases, words of sympathy without actions of justice. Bishop Accountability's report resurfaced, stirring anguish among the faithful. Could it be true? Could the man called the Asian Francis, the man with tears in his eyes for the poor, have failed the most vulnerable in their hour of need? The church shuddered with the contradiction. The bride of Christ seemed to cry out, torn between love and scandal, between hope and betrayal. And Pope Leo XIV. What of him? He heard it all. He read it all. Behind the gilded doors of the apostolic palace, he pondered. He prayed. Was Tagle his ally or his Judas? Was this bond forged by heaven or a snare set by factions lurking in the Vatican halls? For already whispers spoke of divisions, of hidden networks of cardinals, some loyal to Francis's vision, others seeking a purification more severe, more radical, more apocalyptic. And as the church trembled, a word rose from prophecy, carried on the tongues of the faithful: purification. The bride of Christ must pass through fire. Just as gold is purified in the furnace, so too must the church face her trial. The revolt of Tagle, was it the spark, or was it the warning? The sign that the Vatican itself, the very heart of Catholicism, was entering a storm foretold by saints and seers, a Vatican divided, a pope baffled, a cardinal whose every word is weighed like thunder, and heaven watches. For in the silence of the tabernacle, before the gaze of the Eucharistic Lord, the true battle is being fought. Not in press conferences, not in titles, not even in conclave candy, but in the souls of men who hold the keys of Peter. The question remains, is this revolt real or is it only beginning? The clash is not yet finished, the storm clouds are gathering, and the bride of Christ is preparing to suffer again, so that she may shine brighter, purer, holier, when the dawn of God's judgment breaks. And Rome waits. The world waits. Heaven waits. And so it begins. The mystery that shakes the very heart of the Vatican. The revolt, if it is revolt at all, did not come with swords or banners, but with words. Words so simple yet so heavy that they carried the weight of heaven and the threat of division. There's no turning back. 4 words that echoed across the marble halls of the apostolic palace. Words that some hailed as prophecy, others as defiance. Pope Leo XIV stood at the window of his study, looking out over Rome, his hand trembling slightly on the rosary he held. He knew the power of words. He knew the power of silence. And Cardinal Tagle had chosen his words with fire. The Holy Father's closest aides asked him quietly, "Holy Father, is this loyalty or rebellion?" And the Pope did not answer. For in his silence the storm grew. Inside the Vatican walls, factions stirred. Cardinals whispered in corridors. Some gathered in hidden rooms, their voices hushed, their faces pale. There are those who cry for mercy, who cling to Francis's eye, dream of a church that bends down to wash the feet of the poor. And there are others who see the bride of Christ as stained, corrupted, in need of a cleansing so fierce it would feel like judgment itself. They speak in secret of purification, of fire, and they watch Tagle with suspicion and hope. For who is he? To some, he is the Asian Francis, the man of tears and tenderness, the preacher who moves crowds to weep. To others, he is too soft, too merciful, too compromised by scandal. And yet, when he speaks, the world listens. When he stands beside Pope Leo XIII, the faithful wonder, are they brothers or rivals? The Vatican has seen storms before, schisms, betrayals, even the Avignon exile when two popes claimed Peter's chair. But this feels different. This feels prophetic. The words of Fatima resound, that the final battle will be against the family, against the very heart of the Church. And here in 2025, as shadows lengthen over Rome, the Bride of Christ trembles. For it is not only enemies outside, it is division within. And then, the twist no one expected. The Pope, baffled by Tagle's words, did not rebuke him. He raised him higher. The suburbicarian title of Albano, bestowed on the very man whose words unsettled him. To the faithful it was a sign of trust, but to those who study prophecy it was something else entirely. A strategy, a mystery, perhaps even a trap. For what better way to silence revolt than to bind it with honor? What better way to contain fire than to place it in your own hand? But heaven does not stay silent forever. In visions whispered among mystics, in dreams that spread like sparks, the message grows louder. The Bride of Christ must pass through agony before her glory is revealed. Rome will suffer, the papacy will be tested, and the Church, yes, the Catholic Church itself, will be purified in a storm greater than any seen since the Reformation. In the night, as pilgrims sleep outside the colonnade, as nuns kneel in hidden chapels, as bishops write letters by candlelight, the question remains: what is Cardinal Tagle's true role in this unfolding mystery? Is he heaven's chosen prophet, sent to defend the poor against the coldness of doctrine? Or is he the spark of division, the sign of revolt, the stumbling block that will force the papacy into its fiercest trial? The Bride of Christ is trembling, the Pope is watching, the cardinals are plotting, and above them all, heaven is writing a story that shakes the earth. The Vatican walls are ancient, but even they have begun to echo differently, like thunder rolling through marble. And the faithful feel it. Something is coming, something that will not leave the Church the same. The question is not if, but when. The Vatican, majestic, eternal, holy, now trembles like a ship caught in a storm. The marble pillars stand tall, yet within their shadows, whispers grow darker, alliances form, and secrets sharpen into weapons. And at the center of it all, Cardinal Tagle, his words, his silence, his presence, they have become thunder. The Pope remembers it still. The moment, the press conference. The eyes of the world fixed upon Tagle, his voice steady, almost prophetic. There's no turning back, a phrase that split the Church in two. Some cried, yes, the spirit of Francis continues. Others murmured, no, he has defied the new Pope. And Leo XIV, silent, listening, watching, felt the weight of those words pierce his heart, like a sword. Rome has seen betrayals before. Cardinals who plotted in secret. Kings who placed popes on thrones. Empires that rose and fell around Peter's chair. But what is happening now feels different. It feels apocalyptic. The Catholic Church, the Bride of Christ, is being drawn into a purification written in heaven's own book. Within the apostolic palace, meetings stretch deep into the night. Cardinals gather in hushed circles. Some defend Tagle. He is the soul of mercy, the voice of Christ's poor, the continuation of Francis. Others condemn him. He is weak, compromised, a danger to the purity of the Church. And Pope Leo XIV, alone in his chapel, kneels before the Eucharist. His rosary slips through trembling fingers as he prays, Lord, what is this trial you are placing before me? But heaven does not answer in silence forever. For even now, in apparitions whispered across the world, the faithful are hearing warnings. Mystics speak of visions, of a pope in white, surrounded by flames, of a cardinal rising like a torch yet casting shadows, of the bride of Christ walking barefoot through fire, her gown torn, her veil soaked in blood. Could this be now? Could this be the time foretold by Fatima, by Akita, by La Salette? The factions inside the Vatican grow bolder. There are those who call themselves the guardians of tradition, who whisper of a purge, a cleansing, a new order. And there are those who call themselves the children of mercy, who believe the Church must bend to heal the broken, to reach the lost, to suffer with the poor. Both claim to defend Christ, both claim to guard his bride. And between them, Tagle stands. And then, the twist no one foresaw. Instead of punishment, Pope Leo XIV raised him higher. The title of Albano, the ring of authority, a gift, a warning, a chain. Did the Pope bind Tagle in love or in surveillance? Was it trust or strategy? The faithful do not know, but heaven knows. And heaven is preparing. The storm is not only earthly, it is cosmic. For what happens in Rome shakes the heavens. Angels and demons now circle the Vatican, clashing unseen, their battle spilling into the hearts of men. Every prayer of the faithful fuels one side. Every sin, every betrayal, fuels the other. And in this unseen war, the bride of Christ is caught between mercy and judgment. Cardinal Tagle walks the streets of Rome and pilgrims reach out to touch him. Some weep, calling him a saint. Others glare, whispering of scandals, of failures, of betrayal. His every step is watched, his every word becomes fire, and Pope Leo XIV, baffled, uncertain, sees both light and shadow in the man before him. Could Tagle be Peter's defender, or the spark of Peter's trial? The world looks on. Nations stir, enemies of the Church laugh, waiting for her collapse. But prophecy warns, the collapse will not destroy her, it will purify her. The bride of Christ will bleed, will be scourged, will be mocked, but she will rise radiant, without stain, prepared for the bridegroom. This is the mystery of our age, the revolt of Tagle, or the obedience of Tagle, the silence of Leo, or the roar of Leo, the clash of factions, or the purification of the whole. And heaven is watching, heaven is warning, heaven is preparing to act. The bells of St. Peter's toll again. But this time, their sound feels different, heavier, prophetic, like the heartbeat of God himself. Something is coming, something the Church cannot escape, and the bride of Christ must pass through the fire. The Vatican is no longer silent. Its walls shake with whispers, its corridors echo with unseen footsteps. Cardinals gather in secret, dividing into camps, mercy or judgment, Francis or reform, Tagle or Leo. The Catholic Church, the bride of Christ, is being pulled apart by forces both human and demonic. The papacy itself feels the weight of prophecy pressing down, as if heaven has opened the book of Revelation right above Rome. Pope Leo XIV kneels alone in his chapel, his head bowed, the candles flickering as if stirred by invisible winds. He prays, "Lord, is Tagle my brother, or my betrayer?" And at that very hour, Cardinal Tagle stands before the press, his voice trembling, yet unyielding. The Church cannot retreat. There is no turning back. The world gasps. Was it loyalty, or rebellion? Was it prophecy or defiance? But then, the moment no one foresaw. As the bells of St. Peter's toll, lightning tears across the Roman sky, striking the very dome of the basilica. Pilgrims scream, clergy fall to their knees, and for a single instant, the sky itself opens. A figure, radiant, burning, unmistakable. Christ himself, his arms stretched wide above the Vatican, his voice like thunder. My bride will be purified, my church will not fall, but woe to those who divide her. The storm ceases, the light vanishes. Silence covers Rome. And in that, silence. Every cardinal, every priest, every pilgrim realizes the same terrifying truth. The revolt was never about Tagle or Leo. It was about heaven declaring the final battle has begun. And no one expected that the first sign would come with fire above St. Peter's itself.